from Rixie. This is Debuff, and I'm your host, Steve Skeels. Today, I'll be talking about the PlayStation 5 Showcase, the Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase, and Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Personally, I've been a little worried that Sony wasn't going to be able to keep delivering as well as they have been, but looks like they got me again. This PlayStation 5 showcase was great, though it was certainly followed by some poor messaging, but I'll get into that towards the end. There's a lot I want to go over, but of course I gotta mention some of the games first. And boy did they start off with a banger. Final Fantasy 16, baby. It's about time. Hopefully I'm not waiting for a decade to see this get released, but I'm still going to be hyped if that's the case. It looks like a return to more of a high fantasy setting, which I'm all about, and the brief gameplay shown looks like it's sticking with the more action RPG style of FF15, which is also fine by me. I prefer turn-based, but I kind of like the direction they're going in, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it. Hopefully there's some new systems and improvements, but either way, it looks sweet. And honestly, it looks a little bit dark. So I'm hoping to see more about the story. Following this, we got some more Miles Morales, which also looks great. Definitely more of the same Spider-Man gameplay, but now with new abilities, under a new story. The first game was amazing, and I know this will be too. There's not much else for me to say about that. I do want to say that I'm impressed that somehow Sony managed to nab the announcement for Hogwarts Legacy, the open-world RPG that leaked quite a while ago. I'm not super into Harry Potter, but the universe is fun, and the game looks like it will be too. It takes place in the 1800s, so it should be well before any of the main story or the Fantastic Beasts movies. Unfortunately, J.K. Rowling sucks, so I know a lot of people aren't sure if they're going to want to get this, but do remember that there are a lot of people working hard to make this game great, despite the author. Anyways, on to the next one. Deathloop continues to look amazing, and I love Arcane, as I've said before. I love Dishonored, so I'm really excited to see how this game turns out. The powers look cool, and the enemy character hunting you down is a pretty neat feature. Apparently, players can take control of her and try to mess you up if you play online, and I think that sounds great. Something a little bit like Dark Souls. And of course, talking about that, I'm most hyped for Demon Souls, and the trailer they showed looks beautiful. The gameplay looked a little bit weak. I'm not sure why they made the player one-hit kill everything, but okay. Maybe it was to show off the power of the boss once he got there. He was one-hit killing all these random enemies, and then the boss destroys him. Whatever, the graphics look great, I'm sure the gameplay will be fun, and having never played the original, I'm really excited, even if it is just a fresh coat of paint. Finally, they left us at the end with a teaser for the God of War sequel. We knew it was coming, and it's awesome to hear. I can't wait till we actually see some gameplay about it. That reminds me, I failed to beat the first one, and I need to go back and do that. So, this is the push I needed. There were a few other games shown, and I liked that they had pretty long videos for each game. It was nice to actually see some in-depth content and go over the games that they want you to get hype about. I think they did a good job at showing why you would want to get a next-gen console, especially the PlayStation 5, which they didn't say it all here, but some of these games are exclusives and timed exclusives. So you might want to pick up a PS5 just to play Final Fantasy 16 on launch day. But for those that did miss out on the PlayStation 4 or maybe skip this generation altogether, they're going to be set right with the new PlayStation Plus collection, which gives you some of the best PlayStation 4 games as long as you have a PlayStation Network subscription. It's not quite Game Pass, but it's certainly a good idea, and I'm glad to see it. But overall, we were actually here for a price and a release date, which they got to pretty much at the end. $399 for no optical drive and $499 with the optical drive. Launching November 12th in some countries like America, which is where I am, and the 19th pretty much everywhere else. Which, that's awesome. Kind of sucks for those people that have to wait till the 19th. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that, but, at least it's not a month later. Now, before I get into the catastrophe that followed the presentation, I just want to say that I think this pricing is awesome. I was hoping for $499 max, especially after the Xbox pricing. I didn't want Sony to come out with $600 and it be, a difficult sell for a lot of people. But $399 if you want to go all digital, I think that's awesome. I'm not going to get that because I got a lot of PlayStation 4 games I'd like to be able to use one box and play those on if I feel like. But still, I think $399 is a steal. If you were considering getting the Series S for its price of, $299, you may as well save $100 and get a full-powered next-gen console, as long as you're okay with getting PlayStation, of course. But I think this is a great position to be in. I mean, the difference between 300 and 500 is a lot, but 300 to 400, maybe you'll be able to save that extra $100 pretty easily. The thing that sucks about all this is that they specifically said back in July that they were going to let us know about pre-orders and that it wouldn't be on a moment's notice. And, well, it was on a moment's notice. They tweeted after the showcase that pre-orders would be available as early as the following day, but even that didn't happen. Starting with Walmart, retailers put up pre-orders that night, and they sold out pretty much immediately. Sony's since apologized and said that more will be available, but it's ridiculous that this even happened. Personally, I didn't even know that they were going out for pre-order because they didn't say during the presentation, and I was busy afterwards, so I didn't look at any of the tweets and I woke up to disappointment. Even afterwards, I tried to go for, another round of pre-orders that Walmart put up, and within the first minute of it going up, I had it in my cart, went to pay, and it's all gone. Which, again, I get that that's going to happen. But it's a little bit of a shame when there wasn't even really a warning by Sony, and now you're basically just got to wait and hope to hear about when new pre-orders are going to go up. Another thing about it is that Sony had allowed people to use their PlayStation Network IDs to put in, for maybe like a raffle or something, but essentially sign up and hopefully get a guaranteed spot to pre-order. And they didn't even let those people know, at least some of them. I don't know if they sent out some earlier, but I was hearing that people were finding out the next day between 9 and noon or something like that, which I think is a little bit ridiculous. Those should have gone out before pre-orders even started so that people who were chosen had nothing to worry about and didn't have to add to probably the chaos of pre-ordering. It's pretty screwed. They also had poor messaging on some of the game release dates, so I feel like I at least wasn't sure by the end of the presentation what games were actually going to be launch titles, so I was kind of thinking, well, I could wait for a pre-order if I had to, but then, Jeff Keighley tweets out that Demon's Souls is going to be a launch title. Why wasn't that in the presentation? Why weren't Sony the ones that were talking about it, or Blue Point at least? I don't know. It's just strange because even the video was very vague. Why say Miles Morales is coming out this holiday and then turn around and say it's a launch title? It kind of felt like the video that they made was just ready to be dropped anytime, but because of how close they dropped it to when they wanted to do pre-orders, they had to go and say all this other information outside of the presentation. Also, I am a little bit, disappointed. I'm not so surprised, but we kind of knew they'd do this with some titles. They said that Miles Morales and Horizon Forbidden West are also going to be PlayStation 4 games. I'm sure these games were developed using the same engine that the first games were made on for Spider-Man and Horizon Zero Dawn, but it seems a bit strange that they would go and wait this long before telling us. Obviously, you still want to get a PlayStation 5 to get the best experience, but it feels a bit like cheating. I'm going to get a PlayStation 5 for Demon's Souls, but besides that, Horizon was really the main game that I was looking forward to, along with some others, but I definitely had said to friends, I'm going to have to get it by the time Horizon gets launched, because I'm going to want to play that right away. But if they're going to go out there and kind of wait until they put up their pre-orders for people to find out that maybe you don't actually need the PlayStation 5, seems a bit skeezy in my opinion. And the last thing I want to say that I think is a real bummer is that some next-gen games are definitely going to be $70. I get it, prices change, but the $10 is definitely hurting. I'm sad to say I probably won't be trying to buy a lot of games at launch now. Depends on what they are, but definitely be more inclined to wait for sales, which is probably the opposite of what they're going for. I'll probably be in the minority. I'm sure, the mass consumer is probably still going to buy them at $70 at launch, but it's going to hurt a lot of the people that don't want to spend that extra $10 just to play a game on day one. I just feel like Sony could have handled this all a lot better. They have the content, and they know a lot of people are going to buy their stuff, but they screwed this up a bit. I don't think it's going to matter. They're still going to keep selling out PlayStation 5s, and this will probably all be forgotten. So, kind of sucks that they can mess up like this and get away with it, but what can I say? I'm still going to buy one too, so I can't really hate. And like I said, it did feel like this video was prepared a while ago, and they rushed it out since Microsoft dropped all their Xbox info. So they were trying to get ahead, and they wanted to get pre-orders up before people pre-order their Xboxes. and they asked retailers to push pre-orders probably right away, and I think things got messed up. Sucks, but they were playing chicken with Microsoft for a bit too long, and it looks like it bit them in the ass. Either way, hopefully everyone's getting a PlayStation 5 if they want one. See how it goes, and don't worry, definitely don't need one day one. They're going to be putting more out there as we go. You just might not get one on November 12th. Okay, next up, Nintendo had another mini direct partner showcase on September 17th, and while we still have been waiting for a full direct to hear more about Nintendo's first-party games, it feels like most people agree that this was a great presentation. I'm going to skip a few games that looked alright, but as usual, I'd rather talk about what I'm excited for. And they kicked things off with a good-looking game, Monster Hunter Rise, the first new Monster Hunter title to be developed for the Nintendo Switch, and it looks awesome. It uses the same open-world map design that World uses, instead of the segmented areas of previous titles. And traversal looks pretty fun, with both mounts and a grappling hook to help you get around. It also runs on the RE engine, and I think it looks fantastic. Hopefully it runs just as well as it looks, though. We'll have to see, but from what we saw in the demo, it looked pretty good. Then they went into announcing Monster Hunter Stories 2, which, as far as I understand, is pretty much their answer to Pokemon, though your trainer person is a bit more involved in combat. It was just a trailer, but that also looks good, though I never played the first, so I'm not totally sure what to expect or how big the fan base is for this one. The next title I was pumped to see was Disgaea 6, Defiance of Destiny. These Disgaea games are certainly not for everyone. They're very over the top, full of anime tropes, and basically created to be grind fests. But they're seriously fun. NIS has spent the last few years remastering the old Disgaea games, and while that's great, the gameplay pretty much improves with each game. There's a lot of quality of life updates and stuff like that, so I'm more excited to see a new title than any of those remasters. It looks good, though I'm sure some people are going to be a little bit bummed that they're using 3D character models. I think it looks good. Another franchise awaiting a return was Rune Factory, so I was happy to see some Rune Factory 5 gameplay. These titles are very much like Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley, with even more RPG elements and I'd say a little bit more actual combat than Stardew Valley. Everyone has their preference, and for me, I'd probably choose Rune Factory out of any games like this. The world is great, and I like the dungeon system it has. It's been 8 years since 4 released, so I'm hoping to see some big improvements with this. Alright, the last game that we gotta talk about is a port, but it's great. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is coming to Switch, as well as an Ori collection if you want to get both games physically. I think I've mentioned before, but the Nintendo-Microsoft relationship is great. Microsoft just doesn't give a shit where you play their games, and it's awesome to see them allowing some titles on the Switch, even if it's just a few. Ori is a great series, so it's great to see it come to the Switch and have more people able to play it. I'm hoping for more, maybe when we get a more powerful Switch iteration or even a Switch 2. Potentially Microsoft will want to put some of their other games on it. We'll wait and see, but for now, this was a great presentation, even without any of Nintendo's first-party titles. And there was quite a lot here with a few good reveals. I think a lot of people are excited about Monster Hunter, and I'm just happy that we're getting more games. Feels like we were about to come into a little bit of a drought, and though a lot of these aren't coming out right away, it's good to see there's a lot in the pipeline. Alright, last up, we got Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Announced just a few weeks ago, it dropped on September 18th. On Metacritic, it's currently sitting at an 83 critic score and a 5.7 user score. We'll talk about that in a bit. On the surface, this is a great collection of Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy. 3 amazing games, and having them on the Switch is kind of a dream come true, I'm sure, for a lot of people. The omission of Galaxy 2 feels a bit odd, but I know a lot of people, myself included, were thinking it's due to how much you use Yoshi and how the mandatory aiming would be a bit awkward with the gyro of the Switch. In Galaxy 1, this isn't really much of an issue since you really just use it to shoot star bits. It's also a bit strange that the game is a limited release, both physical and digital. I understand the original Super Mario All-Stars on SNES was initially released in limited quantities, So I guess I get doing something similar, if that is the case here, but very odd to limit the digital version. Definitely sucks for anyone that gets a Switch after March 2021. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to play this, and in my mind, I'm hoping that all they're going to do is maybe release the titles separately and not have the All-Stars collection. Maybe, price them out at $25 to $30 each, and then, you got to pay more than the people that got the collection. I don't know. I digress. I got the game. I've been playing it. So how is it? I haven't put a ton of time into it yet since I just got it, but the game's run and play about as well as you can imagine. The improved resolution looks pretty good, though I'm still bummed that Mario 64 couldn't have gotten the 16:9 treatment. And it's a little bit strange, but apparently the cutscenes in Sunshine are also just zoomed in order to fit that widescreen display. It makes sense, as those were actual videos, so you can't do a whole lot with what they already had, but it might be a bit odd if you're a big Sunshine fan, though I don't think it's really going to bother anybody. The controls for the games all work well. Without the analog triggers, Sunshine works by having one button be the spraying while standing still, and the other allowing Mario to run and spray. It isn't perfect, but it doesn't really change the game much. I think it's been fine so far. The only thing that frustrates me is that there's no way to go and have inverted aiming with Flood. I'm still not really used to it, but I guess I'll have to get there. Galaxy is also fine with the motion controls as an option when playing docked, or using the touchscreen to fire star bits when handheld. It works well enough, and I'm really happy to see they added the spin move as just a button. You can still shake to do it, but a lot easier just to press the button. Really, I don't have too many complaints about the game. I mean, I don't know what people expect. The bottom line is that they're 3 great titles, even if the collection is a bit weak. The only true bonus content is the ability to listen to the soundtracks of the games, which, while cool, isn't much of a feature when I can just look it up on my phone or whatever else I want to do it on. But even the menu feels a bit weak with the collection. I mean, again, I don't know what I would expect, but it doesn't really have much style to it, so it seemed a bit disappointing. I mean, it's basically just, here's the games, here's the soundtracks. That's fine. I think what many people are the most upset about is that they're just emulated titles, not actual ports. And I don't know that matters. I can understand how it makes it sound like it's less work. I'm not a game dev, but it's still work, and I don't think we should focus on that too much. As far as I understand, pretty much all the virtual console games they've just always been, emulated titles, so it's probably a lot more straightforward doing that than going ahead and porting the games entirely to the Switch. I'll also say I think that many people would have preferred full-up remakes like the Spyro Reignited trilogy, but that isn't what we got, and I also know a lot of people would probably be, a little bit put off by playing Mario 64 with, Odyssey graphics. I think it'd be cool, but a lot of people like the nostalgia of the graphics that they played it on. So what's in hand is still a good collection. I don't think we can say, it isn't what I wanted, so I'm bummed about it, but I think that's where the 5.7 user score on Metacritic is. All 3 of these games are, much better than a 5.7 or even the 83 critic score that's currently there, but I guess, take some points away for feeling like the collection's a little bit weak. I get that, but unless you have the original games, this is pretty much the best way to play them, and even so, I would say that with the updated visuals, I would still probably rather play these than go ahead and play, Mario 64 on the original console or even emulated on a computer or anything like that. And I would say for $60, getting 3 of the best 3D platformers is a good deal. I mean, they're Nintendo titles. I think each one would cost way more if they were to separate them, or if they even do separate them like I was saying, I think they might. So at least take solace in that. For $60, I think it's a good time. And if you like Mario, you're definitely going to want to get this before it's gone. Debuff is hosted by me, Steve Skeels, edited and mixed by Mason Carlton. Follow us on Instagram at DebuffPod. That's Debuff, P-O-D. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.